this is Dillon Hartman from Durango Silver Company. I'm here today to give you a brief kind of introduction to cabochons. And we're going to focus on turquoise because that's our main business. Anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to show you a few different ways that turquoise cabochons are cut, different styles of a cabochon, and then reasons why we cut them a certain way. So when you're looking at cabochons, every cutter has a little bit different cut or way that they finish a stone from rough material to the final product. I like to cut a stone personally that's not a full high dome and not a flat dome. I like something kind of in the middle, like a stone such as this Egyptian spiderweb stone here. See how it's kind of a flatter cut, but it's got a nice rounded dome to it, and it's got a nice flat edge to it that'll set nicely in your bezel. So the bezel can grip it real well, and also won't have any bubbles in your bezel. So we'll start with the different types of cuts. So there's a flat cut, such as these stones here, that is real popular nowadays to save on turquoise. And the flat cut would be like this, where it's, almost like a tabletop, or as flat as a cutter can get it. And this particular stone was cut around the seam of turquoise, so it's almost got a nuggety dip in it because the vein was real skinny, and they had to cut around it to get the beautiful spiderweb matrix. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how this piece had to be done. And so you just have to know how to set it to make it work in your jewelry. Nothing wrong with that. Here's another flat cut stone. This is a piece of natural Manassa turquoise. And you can see this is a nice thick vein of turquoise. But it was still cut flat to save on the stone, because right now a lot of these old mines are closed and the material is very valuable. This is a little variation on the flat cut right here, this one. You can see the side of it, and then you'll see, if you notice right here, this lip is a little bit curved. It's just a little, very tiny curve to it. And this is a natural piece of Kingman turquoise, no filling, no baloney, just a natural piece of high-grade Kingman. Okay, and all these stones I've been showing you so far have been backed. I thought I should stop and talk about that. We back turquoise for several reasons. One reason, the biggest reason that turquoise is backed, truthfully, from my viewpoint, is that the backing raises it up out of the bezel a little bit. So when you're putting a bezel on a stone, if it was sitting down in that bezel like that, all you're going to be able to see is the top of the stone. You're not going to be able to see the side, and we know that's a nice thick piece of turquoise. So the way that we would set this stone is we would, sorry there, gotta get her in there. So the way we'd set that stone would be about like that, approximately, to where you'd see some of that stone. So you see that, okay, hey, this is all turquoise here. It's got a nice big thick hunk of turquoise in my piece of jewelry, and you can see it all the way around. That's a lot of the reason why people back turquoise. And in fact is turquoise that I'm not going to sell to other people, I back it thicker. I like a big thick backing on mine, not to buy, but to set. I don't like to buy stones with big thick backing because I'm paying for the backing, but to set in your jewelry, I like to have a thick back, and sometimes I even re-back stones that I buy so that they stick up higher, and I don't have to put sawdust or some other form of halfway done craftsmanship to set the stone up. Okay, and then the other reason that people back stones, turquoise is softer, just like an opal, and it does give it kind of a, if you will, a shock absorber. And so if somebody slams it into a door, slams it onto a table, it's got a little bit of give. So that's another reason people back. And the very last reason that people back stones in the United States is that most of the Native American and Anglo artists, the American artists, it's just kind of what they know. And if it's unbacked, they're thinking that it was cut overseas or a production cut. And so a lot of times stone cutters back them purposely to show that, hey, this was a hand-cut gemstone cut in America. the other option would be unbacked, like this piece of sugilite here. And so a nicely unbacked stone really should be polished on the back as well as the sides. And that would be the common cut in the rest of the world. Most of the world cuts with no backing, and then a lot of people will set these, you know, at the setting where you can see the back as well. And it's also great for people that are doing wire wrap jewelry. Nothing wrong with either method, and I guess you would just need to know what kind of jewelry you're making and what you need. Okay, so now we'll go back into the shape of the cut. So we talked about a flat cut. This stone here that I just showed you, the sugilite stone, and this is a really perfect cut for what I like. This has got a nice higher dome. It's got a nice roll to it where it's kind of like a jelly bean almost. And that's going to look really wonderful in your jewelry. And not many people cut like this anymore when it comes to turquoise. Most people are cutting turquoise more of the flat cut, again to save the precious mineral. And then also to make it so jewelers aren't having to pay so much money for the cabochons. Again, when I'm cutting for myself, I cut all high domes. So here's another flatter, rounder cut. This is what most people consider about perfect. A little bit of a dome, but mostly flat. And I talked about the side. You want that to be nice and straight if you can, maybe even a little curve out so it goes into your bezel real nice. Here's another kind of medium cut stone. This one's got a nice dome, a little bit higher than that Egyptian stone. Okay, this is a natural piece of Bisbee turquoise, medium blue. This has got a nice thick side. This will be wonderful in a bezel. You probably won't have to put any kind of sawdust or anything. This is a real high custom stamped bezel, so it's kind of, you know, goes down in there, but a normal bezel, this will probably sit up about like that, which looks really nice because you got your bezel and then a nice rolled dome top. And then this last one here that I'm going to show, that is an ultra high dome. And these are just awesome. I mean, you can't find a cab like that hardly anymore. And it takes a lot more time to cut something like this. Because this is a lot harder for a cabber to cut. Because what seems to happen is when you're cutting them, and you got that big high roll like that, it wants to have facets in it. And this may even have some facets in it because this is a vintage stone. This stone here was cut in the 50s or 60s, somewhere in there. And this is a natural piece of Persian turquoise. But so, you know, and the machines weren't quite as good as now, so it's got a little bit of kind of lumpy, you know, facets in it. But that's a high dome cab, pretty nicely executed for the machinery they had at that time. And then one more nice example of a different way to cut turquoise. These are all solid turquoise here, and then the sugilite, of course. This is what's called a ribbon turquoise cut. And when they first started doing this, they also used to call it Boulder turquoise. But right now, pretty much everybody calls it ribbon turquoise. And meaning it has the ribbon or the vein of the turquoise going through the natural host rock. And this is a really well-cut one where it's a straight line. Most of the time they're kind of all over the place. But this would be kind of a high-quality one in my mind. Nice thick piece of turquoise you could have cut a solid blue stone out of. So there's some different shapes of cabochons. There's other varieties too. Some people do a one facet all the way around. Some people cushion facet them. You can do all different kind of things with cabochons, but these are your basic ones and the best cuts in my mind for sterling silver jewelry. And then here's some other nice little examples of turquoise cabs that I thought I'd just show just for fun. So a little bit of the high-grade ube turquoise, some Kingman spider web, Egyptian stone with not much matrix, a little two-tone Royston. Here's a nice piece of desert bloom veracite. Here's another nice little piece of Prince veracite, Egyptian, and a real nice high-grade natural Ithaca peak with some pyrite in it. I hope you enjoyed my video, And hopefully that's a nice introduction to cabochons. Again, like I say, there's a lot more to know, but there's the basics you need to know to buy a nice cabochon for your jewelry. Thank you very much. If you liked this video, please give us a thumb up and subscribe, and we'll continue to put nice videos on how to make jewelry, how to cut stones, how to buy stones, and anything you might want to know about jewelry. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment and say, hey, will you talk about this in your next video? Have a great day.